the Agriculture and Natural Resources Agent with Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Somerset County. She started in this position in March 2024 after 3 years as programmatic staff with the RCE Burlington County and brings with her 10 plus years of experience in research and outreach for commercial crop production. She graduated from Rutgers University with a bachelor's degree in plant science, and she holds a master's degree in horticulture from Cornell University from 2022. In her current role, she develops programming, implements demonstrations, and conducts outreach for commercial crop producers in Somerset County and throughout the state. Her primary areas of focus are cover crops, soil health, weed management, farm safety, on-farm food safety, and farm business management as they relate to farm viability. Please welcome Kate.
Hello. Hello, everyone online. Well, good evening, everyone. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces here in the room, and I'm sure online as well. Thank you, Eliza, for that introduction, and I'll just jump right in, but I wanted to include this picture of me and my dad in front of our garden because that's pretty much where it all got started for me and my interest in agriculture. So we have quite the long title. I've listed it here, but I just wanted to go through each of the lines here to try to explain what this really means, because it's like a lot of mumbo jumbo and definitely needs some explanation. So is everyone here already a member of a 4-H club? Okay, excellent. So you have some understanding of Rutgers Cooperative Extension, but maybe this will add a little bit more detail to that knowledge. So Rutgers Cooperative Extension is something that exists in all 21 counties of New Jersey. I, like Melissa, serve here in Somerset County, but of course we do have some responsibilities that bring us statewide or a regional as well. So that's sort of the bottom line there. Now, within Cooperative Extension, there are 3 departments. I am in the Agriculture and Natural Resource Department. 4-H Youth Development is another department. And then there's Family and Community Health Sciences. And some of you might be familiar with them. They do chronic disease prevention, wellness, nutrition, things like that. But I focus on agriculture and natural resources and land management broadly. And then more specifically, my title is County Agent 3. The reason for that is that at Rutgers, we are in a tenure track position. So that means that our promotion is based on performance. And I'm going to explain more about that. But essentially, after 6 years, I will go up to get tenure. And then at that time, if I am promoted to then I will be a County Agent 2. And then 6 years after that, you can advance again to become a County Agent 1. And we're fortunate at Rutgers because of this tenure track system that we are also equivalent to an assistant professor. And there are promotional ranks that go along with that. So you become an associate professor and then a full professor on that same timeline. And the reason that this is unique is because you might not know this, but cooperative extension exists nationwide. So every state and at least some, if not all, of the territories have a cooperative extension program going on there. And not every state has this tenure track position. So there are certainly advantages to being in a state that has a tenure track associated with their cooperative extension. So, that's a little bit of background about this long title here, but what does that really mean on a day-to-day basis? And I wanted to explain that, very specifically here with the definition, it means that we are here to serve the residents of New Jersey through the development and dissemination of research-based information. So I do that specifically with agriculture. Our 4-H program is doing that through youth education, and same for family and community health sciences. But that's a pretty broad statement. So we do need to drill it down into how we develop our programs and the way. Anyway, so how do we determine what the needs are in our specific county? So like I said, I'm here to serve Somerset County farmers and land managers specifically. My title, like when I started my job, this is the description that they included. I am here to focus on commercial agriculture viability, which is a very broad statement. There are many aspects of running a business or your specific production practices that could influence the viability of your operation. So they do provide some more description here that will be inclusive of production, marketing, business management, some of these different areas of risk related to running a business, and also to have a strong emphasis on food safety and FSMA, which is the Food Safety Modernization Act, training and compliance for farmers. So how did they develop these needs? Well, one of the ways that they did that is speaking with the growers in the county to determine what the needs were that they saw for someone coming into this role. But there are other ways now that I'm here. I started in this role March of last year, that I can also learn more about what is needed from the Somerset County growers. So I did bring with me, this is the 2022 Census of Agriculture. So the federal Department of Agriculture does every 5 years. They do a Census of Agriculture, and then they report it all the way down to a county level so that folks like me, as well as policymakers, can use this information to guide our activities. And so I used this a couple days ago, and I was surprised at some of the answers from the audience. I want to ask you all, how many farms do you think there are in Somerset County? Anyone? None, perhaps? No comments on the number of farms in the county? Melissa, any guesses? Yes. 45, okay. Any other guesses? Think that's low or high? Yeah, it's all farms. Yes. 100, okay. Yes. Okay. 120, who's going to take the over? Yeah, people think more, okay. Everyone else thinks under, okay, all right. Well, according to the Census of Agriculture, there are 469 farms in Somerset County. The reason that you might not be aware of that number of operations in the county is because only 21% of them are selling direct to consumers. So there's a lot of farms that are operating out there, managing all this acreage in the county that are not selling their hay directly to a horse operation or to a livestock farm, that they're not selling their fruits and vegetables directly to people coming to the farm. They're probably selling to a distributor, or maybe even directly to like a grocery store or something like that. So you don't get that face time with those farmers and you don't realize that they're there. But in Somerset County, there are over 30,000 acres that are being farmed. And that is actually a decline from the last 5-year census. So that, according to them, that's down 16%. So the reason I present all this information to you is because just that little bit of, glancing at this report tells me about what's going on in the county. So we see that there is an increase, a 4% increase in the number of farms, but there is a decrease in the acreage of farms. So we see that more people are getting into agriculture, but they're doing it on smaller acreage. So that tells us a little bit about their operations and also perhaps about a missed opportunity. If only 21% of these farms are selling direct to consumers, we know that Somerset County, like most of New Jersey, is very populous, and that's an opportunity for them to capture more of the dollar of their produce or whatever type of commodity they are selling. So anyway, my job is to be based on what the needs are of the community. So I have many forms in addition to just speaking to the growers and going out on their farms to learn more about what is needed here. Day to day, it is hard to know what any day is going to be like, and this week has been no exception. But very broadly, I am participating in a lot of educational events. Like I mentioned, we are here to bring research-based information to our stakeholders, and so we host a lot of educational events. Anytime, a farmer could call me, they could walk in the office, they could shoot me an email and say, hey, I'm having an issue. Can you come out and look at this? Can you help me address this? Can you help me think through this? So that can really change the direction of your day at any time. A little bit more, this requires a lot more forethought, but doing some applied research over at our research farm in Hunterdon County. I'm not sure if any of you have been there, but it's definitely worth the trip for the upcoming tomato tasting at the end of August. You can get a nice tour of the farm there. We also serve as liaisons to a lot of community groups. So like tonight after this meeting, I'll be in the gym with the County Board of Agriculture. I also go to the county agriculture development board meetings. You're just, we're here to cultivate that relationship with our county stakeholders. And something I didn't mention, it's called Cooperative Extension. One of the reasons for that name is because there is this cooperative agreement between the county government and Rutgers University. So there is cost sharing that goes on to provide these services to county residents. And so it's important that we make our county stakeholders at the government level aware of what we're doing for them. And you might have heard of the Rutgers Master Gardener program and the Rutgers Environmental Steward program. In addition to my own programming focused more on commercial agriculture, I'm also responsible for overseeing the consumer horticulture side of this program. So yeah, a typical day could be absolutely anything. And here's just some examples. Okay, I'll stay here, but maybe you can see my mouse on the screen. Nope. Okay. So at the top, we have a fact sheet that I wrote. We have a publication in a journal. We have, this is from our plant and pest advisory, that's in e-newsletter that goes to farmers. So we're using multi forms of outreach to get to people where they are. Some people like email, some people like going to an event, some people like more long format. And these journal publications end up going to our colleagues across the country so that they can replicate what we're doing in their own state if it applies. Also getting out there and giving public presentations. Here I was at the Farm Bureau Convention last fall presenting about heat stress in agriculture. That's a legislative issue that's come up. We have a couple photos of farm visits that I've gone on. So here with the sunflower cut in half, there was a grower who grow almost exclusively sunflowers, and they were having this insect damage in the face of the sunflower. So I had to go out and figure out what was going on there. The aesthetic of that flower is essential to the product, the profitability of their business. At the bottom here, there was like a planting issue in their spinach. So we had to go out and figure out, is there an insect pest there? Is it a planting issue? Is there a soil fertility issue? Using our diagnostic skills. And then a photo of my research there. So how to determine if this is a good role for you to consider. Here are some of the characteristics that I thought about could be appropriate for someone pursuing this type of role. So just being generally curious, I found like the more I learn, the more I want to know. And every day something comes in that I haven't seen before. So if you just find yourself generally curious about things in nature, this could be the job for you. Certainly helping others and teaching others and learning from others. There's a lot of interpersonal interaction that goes on in this job. And to be successful, you have to enjoy doing that kind of thing. Certainly being organized this week, it can be chaotic at times trying to manage everything that you have to do. So being organized and attention to detail, because again, we're here to bring research-based information to our clientele. So if we are the originators of that information, such as like my research out at the farm, it's important that that is conducted in an appropriate manner, that it will be applicable to our growers. And being creative, because there are a lot of creative solutions needed to address all the challenges that farmers and land managers are facing these days. So I included a short and long version of how I got to where I am. When I was in high school, I was like, straight path, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. No one's gonna stand in my way. And here it looks very nice in this format. So yes, I went to Rutgers, I got my bachelor's degree in plant science, and then I went to Cornell and got my master's in horticulture. Through some experiences in my undergraduate education, I figured out I definitely wanted to do this job, be in cooperative extension, be a county agent. So I knew I had to get my master's. I started in a staff role in Burlington County, as Eliza mentioned, and then I graduated to this faculty role here in Somerset County last year. But that's not reality. Looks more like that. very chaotic. And I'll just take you through a little bit of that. So, like I said, when I was a kid, my dad and I had a garden together, and that kind of the gardening and plus my own interest that developed in horseback riding, I decided I wanted to be a large animal vet. And that's when I was gung ho. No one was going to tell me otherwise. That was my direction. I was fortunate to go to a high school that had an FFA program. Extremely, extremely important in my life, being in that program, studying animal science. But probably the most important part of that, having those hands on experiences in high school, was I got super sick during a dissection like senior year and couldn't be a vet after that. At least that's where my head went. So when I went to college, I was thinking, all right, I love this FFA program so much, and maybe I'll teach agriculture. So I had already selected Rutgers, which is perfect because it's a huge place and I could change my major at any time. So I switched from wanting to come in as animal science to ag education. And it was through that experience, because I grew up riding horses and showing cows with my friend who was in 4-H. All my experience was in livestock. I wanted to learn more about crop production because I thought if I'm going to teach agriculture, I need to be more well-rounded. Well, I got an internship at the Rutgers Snyder farm, and I met a mentor on campus who pushed me to work at one of our other research farms, and I learned about extension. And I thought I wanted to be a plant pathologist, but I took some courses. And anyway, I just finally landed on that I wanted to be an agricultural agent. And unfortunately, I had to go to grad school to do that. But I knew what I wanted to do on the back end. So that was the only thing that got me through that experience. So I would just encourage all of you to do as many experience-based positions as you can. Internships really changed the direction of my career, and I know that this is what I want to do. Good thing, because I'm here now. And I wouldn't have even known about extension if I hadn't sort of followed that path. So no matter what you do, just do as much experience-based stuff as you can. Don't take a summer off in college, work doing what you think you want to do until you really navigate to where you want to end up. So there's my long title again, and my contact information if you have any questions in the future. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions you have now. Do I get to ask questions? Oh, yeah.
Did your extension job?
Yes. Every county in the country has cooperative extension available to them. Some counties are more or less funded. So you may find in other states that a county agent is serving more than one county. But yes, this type of university-based support for the agricultural community is in every county. Yes. Yes. Did you know before today that 4-H is part of cooperative extension and that there's other departments? Okay. Nice. All right. Do you all know what you want to do now or have thoughts about it? All 11th and 12th grade? Or, oh, okay. Okay. Nice. Well, yes. All right. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you, Kate. Our next presenter is Mr. Wojnar. He is a dedicated union operator with Local 825, bringing expert skills as a welder and mechanic to Red Tail Farms. With years of hands-on experience, he ensures equipment runs smoothly and efficiently. His commitment, leadership, and deep mechanical knowledge make him an essential part of every project he undertakes.
My name's Frank. I started working when I was real young. Not the best choice sometimes, worked for me. I knew higher education wasn't my end game, just the way I was brought up different times. But as far as I'm concerned, any education you get now is something you can keep forever. I had to learn all mine the hard way. I don't know. About 25 years ago, I got an opportunity to get into the operating engineers local. That was a game changer. It affords you a nice living. Like I said, I got 12 years of high school. You know, I graduated 12th grade. That was it. Went to work. I would have much chose a different path at times. There were those mornings when I get up at 4 o'clock and there's snow outside and it's cold. I got to drag myself out there to go to work. I'm on the back end of it now. I got 4 years and I'm going to retire with a nice pension and stuff. But getting there was a little bit of work. But if that's what you wake up in the morning and want to do, choose to do, go for it as hard as you can. I started welding. I have welder in my shop. I do a lot of welding for people. My landscaper that mows my lawn, I fix stuff for him. He mows my lawn. We work hard around on that. That's been very, very profitable for me at times. I went to Votech in high school. I grew up, my father was the neighborhood mechanic. He'd keep everybody's car running when it was the 70s. And I grew up on a farm out in the middle of nowhere. That was just the way I wouldn't change that for the world. But like I said, I went to Votech from 9th grade to senior year. I took radio intelligence repair because that was something I knew absolutely nothing about. I knew how to fix a car. I knew how to drive a nail or turn a wrench or do some plumbing. I knew nothing about electronics. So I did that. And that's helped me over the years. Like I said, any education you can get, if that's the path you want to go on, anything you put between your ears, no one's going to take it away from you. All right, those are some pictures of a job I was on in Newark. That's actually in the ground. Okay, so when you hear people talk about, oh, it's polluted this or polluted that, or oh, it doesn't matter if I dump the drain oil on the ground or let me spray some stuff on the trees. Oh, I don't know what it actually is. That's what it looks like when it's in the ground. That was at a paint factory in Newark. That's all paint. That was actually liquid paint in the ground. And that was one of the nastier jobs I've been on. I've been on some jobs where we dig up barrels and they didn't know what was in them. They sent them out and get it tested. We never heard back about it. But being in the union, we take all the safety protocols. We get physicaled in. We wear our suits and our respirators and all of our safety gear. We look kind of silly wearing it all, but it saves your life. We're big on safety. You get one set of eyes, one set of hands. You don't want to lose any of them. There you go, safety. Earplugs, glasses, doesn't matter what you're doing. You think you're just going to do something for a split second and you're done. If I go for an MRI, I have to go to the eye doctor first. She has to check my eyes for rust. And I wear glasses religiously. It's not a profession for the faint-hearted. Okay? Like I said, I do a lot of welding. Taught my daughter to weld. I've actually probably taught more girls to weld than guys. But you can't be afraid to get burned. You're going to get burned. It doesn't matter what you're doing or what you're wearing. You're going to get burned sometime. I've had burns on top of my feet because stuff is burned through my work boots. It's fun to take a couple pieces of steel that were just flat pieces of steel and actually make something out of them that you can sell to somebody if you have. Well, that's it. I know you guys aren't asking any questions. Let's go back to.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if it looks something like that, what do you do to get rid of it? Or
Depends on the site and what they're doing with it. In that particular instance, we left it right where it was. They built another warehouse on top of it. We did a job in Elizabeth. It was going to be a school. Back in World War II, it was a submarine factory. They had dug in from the river made a dry dock. They brought submarines in there. That place was so contaminated, they were going to put a school on top of it. So they thought it was a good idea. We just took the top 2 feet off the whole site, pulled it away, put down the orange snow fence. We laugh in the trades. We call it the magic fence. They put the orange snow fence down, and we put 2 feet of clean material on it. They put a playground on top of it. I've been on jobs in Newark. That was Newark also, right on the river, where the first 3 feet you dig is nothing but oil, for as far back from the river as you can get. So when people talk about we're ruining our planet, I've seen it firsthand on numerous occasions, the contaminants that are in the ground. We dug up a tanker car, 2 of them on a job, that were full of tar, and we didn't know anything, didn't think about it. They pushed them off to the side. Apparently, back in the day when you had really nasty stuff to get rid of, you put it in a tanker car, filled it with asphalt, and buried it. So yeah, we only got one planet, and that's what people have done to it in the past. We try not to do that anymore. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I remember back in the day, it was a common practice to drop the drain plug on a machine at lunchtime, dump it right on the ground, put it back in, and go right back to work again. I've worked for outfits where their yards are contaminated because for 50 years they just dump their drain oil on the ground. Things have changed. There's none of that on job sites anymore. There's a spill, we've loaded out. They call it dirty dirt. Now in Jersey, it's Jersey dirty. In Pennsylvania, it's clean. Every state has its own things. We did a job in Berkeley Heights. We hauled out 5,000 tons, yards, a pile of dirt twice the size of this building. It was contaminated. It went to Pennsylvania, and they used it as topsoil on a golf course. And so there's all different levels. Every state has their own, but most of the dirty dirt that we load out of this state goes right to Pennsylvania. They have big holes out there. I guess they want to contaminate. There's places in this area, a lot of them on the 1 and 9 corridor, on the Turnpike corridor, that clean the dirt. If you have dirty dirt, they take it there. They do a process with it. They'll burn it to get the petroleum products out of it. I don't have the video on my phone, but on one of our jobs in Newark, right in a residential neighborhood, there was a school right across the street. We were digging a hole for an underground structure, and the ground started to burn. There was so much gasoline in the ground. The machine made a spark with the bucket, and we couldn't put the fire out. We just had to bury it, and they never did anything with it. They just covered it back up again. When you see the little sign on the fence that says environmental cleanup in progress, that just means they covered some of it up, and they're going to let Mother Nature take care of it, which doesn't always work. It's I've been on some nasty job sites. I don't like to go on them so much anymore. MIG welding's the easiest. There's MIG, there's TIG, there's stick, depending on what you're doing. But MIG welding is by far the easiest in my book, because you can start and stop whenever you want. MIG is a metal inert gas. Anybody here ever MIG welded? Okay. Do you do any other kind of welding? Stick welding? Yeah. What's easier, MIG or stick? Yeah. MIG is very forgiving. If you can start learning with a MIG welder. You can buy a little one at Harbor Freight for $100. Okay. You can buy one at Home Depot. Watch a couple of videos. You can start welding. They're not going to be pretty, but you can start welding. TIG is a whole different scenario, but with TIG you can weld dissimilar metals together. You can weld aluminum, you can weld stainless. That's very difficult to do with any other welding process. TIG welding is more of an art. I've tried it a couple of times. I don't do enough of it to say I'm good at it. MIG welding is very easy. Stick welding, if you can stick weld over your head, you can weld in any position on anything. You can lay on your back and weld over your head, eat all the sparks and take the burns. I took a couple of semesters at the Votech after I got out of high school, just to learn technique on welding. Um, that's something that was invaluable in what I've done. Um, anyone else got a question? Oh, hundreds. I don't know, hundreds. I've worked as close as 6 miles to my house and as far as 115. Um, yeah, I hundreds of job sites. Yeah, a job? No, no. There's been no favorites. No, I can tell you there was some I really didn't like going to, but favorite wise, no, they all kind of blend together. I have a Garmin GPS in my truck, and every job I've been on is a little green heart. I save the address. Well, I'll be driving down some road in the middle of nowhere, and a little green heart will pop up, and I'll hit that, and I'll go, "I did that building? I don't remember." There's been doing this for 40 years. I started in residential construction, doing site work on custom homes. Probably did 50 houses in Basking Ridge alone, Tewksbury, septic systems and driveways, digging basements.
Can you talk about the advantages or disadvantages, the difference between being in a union or being out on your own?
Oh, okay. Difference between working in the non-union world and the union world. You can make a wage you can live on working in the union world. There's over 7,000 members in my local. We're a $1.5 billion organization. I know if I have a problem at work, well, I'm the guy that if I'm in charge of the operators where I work. I'm the lead for them. So if one of my operators has a problem, they call me. If I have a problem, I have someone I can call. If he's got a problem, he can call somebody. It's a brotherhood reality. But I have a support. If my boss is giving me a hard time, I can call my business agent, and they come down and they have a little powwow. It usually goes our way. And as far as work goes, I've been with the same company for 18 years, but I worked for non-union outfits for 17 years. That's where I got my experience. We have a training center. You guys have probably all been down at Turnpike, exit 8A. That you see all the American flags and all the equipment run around in that big sand pit down there. That's our training center. We get apprentices, green, never even sat in the machine. 4 years later, they come out of there. They're certainly not experienced operators, but they're comfortable in a machine. I like to hire a lot of apprentices, and I don't care if you can't run a piece of equipment. I want you to have a good attitude. If you got a bad attitude, you're gone. At the end of the day, it all has to get done. It's a job. We get paid for it. You keep your mouth shut, your eyes open, pay attention to what's going on. It's not a difficult job. Most of the equipment nowadays is air conditioned. It's heated seats. The new dozers have heated hand grips. Very comfortable, easy on your back. First machines I learned to run on had manual transmissions. You were shifting gears and pulling hand clutches. Yeah. Well, and I'm young for that, but I talked to guys. I never even sat in one of those, but at different times back then. There's also a lot of traveling involved in what I do. You can wear a car out pretty fast. I get a company vehicle. I don't want to drive one of theirs. They pay for mine. Anything I do to it, put in it, they pay for my vehicle. So I don't worry about where I go to work. I did a job up in New York. It was 1,000 miles a week. I did 65,000 miles in like 15 months. There's a lot you got to go where the work is. If you want to get into that type of work, you're best getting hooked up with a small local guy close to your house, because you just drive to his yard, then you get in one of his vehicles and you go to the job. Questions? Anybody else here working on farms? Yeah, where at? Okay. What do you do there? Okay. You get to drive the tractors at all? No, because you don't want to, or they won't let you? Oh, okay. Okay. Anybody else here ever running a piece of equipment? What have you run? Oh, yeah? What kind of skid steer? New Holland. Is it the foot controls or hand controls? Foot controls? Yeah, I don't like those. My feet are too big. Yeah, that's okay. Anybody else? Brian, what do you run? Okay, very nice, very nice. Yeah, you think you're good at it? Okay, good. That's good because that's a good skill to have. That's a very that's a very common piece of both of those are very common on job sites. Most job sites to run a telehandler, you actually need credentials. You have to have a telehandler certificate, which expire every year, every 2 years. Mine's been expired for probably 15. Um, I don't run them that much, but I go on jobs where I'm in a meeting with them, and the safety guy will say, well, I need everybody's certificates for running equipment. There aren't any unless it's a crane. Crane is the only thing in this state that you actually need a state license for. As part of the union, I can call. We've got a whole office down in our training center. I am on a job that I don't like something that's going on. I call them and they come up with stacks and stacks of manuals. They'll sit down and they know them page for page. And we usually get what we want after that. The job goes safer and cleaner. They bring in the right people to do the testing. We have people doing testing right next to us. Time.
All right, everyone. Our next speaker is Dr. Daniela Gonzalez Carranza. She was born and raised in Mexico City. In 2018, she earned her degree. Daniela began as an independent consultant, collaborating with small and medium dairy farms in the community, allowing her to gain experience and interest in extension work. Daniela earned her Master of Professional Studies degree from Cornell University in Animal Science with a concentration in dairy business management in 2023. The areas she focuses on and enjoys the most are reproduction, herd health, and workforce development.
Thank you everyone for having me, for inviting me. Thank you, Melissa. My name is Daniela Gonzalez. And so to start off, I'm going to talk about how I found my path in agriculture and how you can too. But I have a couple of questions, and I think these are going to be an easy one. First one, you have to live in a farm to work with agriculture. What do you think? What are we thinking? Is it true or is it false?
Everyone is saying false.
Yes, perfect. I knew this was going to be an easy question. False. Agriculture is so much more than that, and I hope that today I can give you some examples. Okay, second question. Which of these everyday things have roots within agriculture? I'm going to pop up the picture and you're going to tell me yes or no. Football.
Football? Okay, yes or no, guys? Thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no. Just take a guess. We're getting a mixed answer of yeses and nos for football.
Okay, perfect. Clothes.
Clothes? Lots of yes for clothes.
Perfect. Bed sheets.
Bed sheets. A lot of people saying yes for bed sheets.
Excellent. Okay, next one is a tricky one. Toothpaste.
Toothpaste. Ooh, that's got a mixed response.
Okay. An easy one. Milk.
Everyone's saying yes on that one.
Okay, I hope that everyone was gonna say yes. Okay, now next one. Fuel.
Fuel, like for your car. Another. Ooh, mixed response. Yes and no.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for your help. All of them actually have roots within agriculture. Thank a farmer, because if not, we would all be hungry and naked. So just for a few examples, the football, I'm going to go back. Football actually has, the footballs are made of leather, right? So when we're talking about clothes, most of the clothes are made of natural fibers, like cotton, like wool from sheep. Same with the bed sheets. With the toothpaste, actually, a lot of cosmetic and beauty products do use natural byproducts from agriculture. And also, like, we can just start thinking about mint, right? There are fields that mint is grown on. So it also has roots within agriculture. Milk, of course, that was pretty obvious, pretty easy one. And then fuel for the car. Most of the fuel is made out, or it has some part of byproducts that humans cannot use but are byproducts that are used to make fuel. Biofuels, I think it's called, and it can be made out of corn or like the starch from the corn. So yeah, all of this is made. It has roots within agriculture, and I just put this out here just so that we can all start thinking about what are the everyday things that we use. And there's a whole industry that we don't know about. I didn't know about the fuel until I prepared for this presentation. Okay, so anyway, let's move on. So here's my unexpected journey. I grew up in the suburbs in Mexico City, so I never saw a cow until I'm gonna tell more in the next slide, but until I literally got into vet school. So I'm not a kid that grew up next to a farm or in a rural area. Right there, you can see, let me put on my pointer. You can see this is where I grew up, and this is where we're now, or at least where I'm now in this blue dot, so pretty far away. However, I love dogs, and I was sure I was going to be a veterinarian. As I can see, there's a lot of interest of young girls, of young boys to be a vet. And that was me. I absolutely love dogs, but I only wanted to focus on dogs, right? So I finally decided on vet school. I started vet school in Mexico and I tried with dogs. So I obviously tried surgery. I tried sheep. I tried working with sheep. That was in my vet school had a farm. I also tried with pigs. I tried with horses. Never doing that again. I'm just not a horse girl, but very interesting. Very interesting. I even tried with eagles. I'm just kidding. This was just one practice that we had. But anyway, I think you're getting my point. During vet school, I just tried a lot of different things. And then I finally started working with cows. When I first got to my vet school, I had never seen a cow. And the first semester I was like, wow, this is so cool. My vet school has a dairy farm in my in the facilities. We had a farm for the university. So I started spending my weekends on the farm. I just immediately fell in love with the cows. But at the same time, I was trying this new thing, and I still kept trying new things, but within the dairy farm, within the dairy industry. And that could look at I was trying out new things such as reproductive technologies. Here in the lab, we were working with some genomics. Then in here, obviously, with reproduction, with insemination, I was also trying that. I was also trying with microbiology. But remember, all of this was still within the dairy, the dairy industry overall. And I was still at vet school. So I finally graduated and landed a new job. Actually, two new jobs. Well, my first job, as I previously mentioned, I worked in the dairy farm that a Mexican army has. So I was a veterinary soldier, and I worked there for 2 years. And again, that's it. I'm never doing that again. Never joining the Mexican army again. After that, I worked in another small dairy farm. And when I say small, for me, it was still pretty big. It was like around 250 animals that I was responsible of. So I was doing everyday chores in the farm, right? Managing the calves, helping the dairy cows calf healthy, a newborn, taking care of them. This was in my first job. This was in the Mexican army. So that was my everyday job. Treat sick cows, take care of the healthy cows, help them give birth, even feed some of the calves, which was an amazing job and I really liked it. But I started thinking, even though I was taking care of animals on my day-to-day work, I quickly realized that being a veterinarian needed to be more than just treating one animal. It needed to be taking a look at the whole system, right? Because I would be treating a sick cow, but then I would start thinking, okay, but why this cow got sick? Like, I want to think more through that animal so that I can prevent more animals from getting sick, right? So that was what I call my aha moment. I needed to be prepared better so I could focus more on prevention rather than treatments. And for that, I felt that I needed to study more. I needed more preparation, more education. So that's when I decided to pursue a Master of Professional Studies. And that's when I went from Mexico to New York City. And this is Cornell University. So I did my Master of Professional Studies at Cornell University. The difference between a normal Master of Science, or MS, to the Master of Professional Studies, that is the program that I did, is that this master is just 1 year, and it's more focused on getting a lot of different courses, a lot of different subjects, and it's kind of more applicable. So that was the program that I chose. It was definitely a challenge. First of all, new language, right? I learned English in Mexico, but still speaking English 24/7, it was a real challenge. Completely different practices within farms. The practices that are normal in Mexico are completely different to the practices that we have in the US dairy farms. So it was almost like starting from zero. New culture, definitely new culture. A lot of paperwork and even more paperwork. Why? Because you need to prepare with immigration status, with all of that, enrolling in a new university. There was a lot of little steps that led to me getting here, right? So step by step, everything was coming together. And I'm not gonna lie, it's still a challenge. And you can definitely notice that within like how I speak English. It will always be a challenge. It's not my native language. So I have good days and I have bad days. But it's step by step, right? So here I want to show you a video of the teaching dairy. So Cornell University also has a teaching dairy. And so this is where I took some classes. Look at that cow. Okay, so I'm not sure if you were able to hear the audio, but that was basically one of the 2 dairies that Cornell has. And in there, I was taking reproductive physiology and I was practicing with ultrasound and with other technology. So it was amazing for me to have that part of, yes, I'm going to classes, but I'm also out in the barn practicing. Fast forward, I graduated, and then I was like, okay, cool. Now what? What do I do? So that is when, without knowing it, I had qualities for a new job that I've never heard of. In Mexico, we don't have extension. And I think that's an amazing privilege having the extension system here for most of the states, right? So, and without even knowing it, I had those qualities for a job that it sounded amazing. So I speak Spanish, which, as you know, was it's it's um, it's a good skill to have in dairy farms. I had my master's related to dairy business management, and I focused on applicable practices. So it was like, wow, I was surprised that I had those skills already. And like, I guess the wrong part is that I never thought like beyond my master's. So that was maybe my problem, but just got really lucky that I found a job that was matching my skills and my interests. And that is when I landed this job, my dream job, dairy management specialist. So what is my role? I actually did an AI image with this. So you let me know if it makes sense. So I like to think of my job as me trying to build that bridge between the research the university does and the dairy farms. So that's me. The research that Cornell University has and the dairy farms, right? So how do we do that? We do that through education. So there's a lot of resources that researchers at Cornell have. So we put them to practice. There's a lot of tools. We do a lot of assessments. So anything that can create that bridge, to cover that bridge between the university and the real world dairy farms. And it's just not one way, it's both ways. We are boots on the ground with the dairy farms, and if there's something that needs to be taken care of, or if there's more research needed in one area because we're seeing lots of problems, then we take that to the university and we speak about that with some of the professors at Cornell. What are some of the things that I focus on? Animal health, finances, because my master's was in business. We have to remember that at the end of the day, farms are a business, right? And we need to have a job. We need to earn money and eat, right? So we want the farms to be profitable and also take care of the environment. How can we make all of that fit together? So a lot of finances. Reproduction has been my lifelong passion, really. And then labor, of course, because I have this extra skill of speaking Spanish. And as farms sometimes get bigger, they hire more people, right? So there are even farms that have a person that is just human resources. That's her only job, right? So it's really important. So I work for a team. I'm the dairy management specialist, and I work for a team. And I wanted to put this map right here because these are the 8 counties that I cover. I'm not statewide. There are other extension specialists that are statewide, but this is my region. So what does it mean that this is my region? Basically means that any dairy farm that is within these 8 counties, no matter size, no matter if it's conventional, if it's organic, doesn't matter, I will help you, okay? The other farms that are outside of those regions, of those counties, yes, of course I can also help, but since the county is really not funding my position, I might have to charge extra, or I might find to have a statewide specialist that can help them better. Now, it doesn't mean also that I'm the expert at anything. Another thing that I love about my job is that we're able to say, oh, hey, yeah, this is a great question, but I don't know. However, I will do my best to connect you to another extension specialist, to give you resources, to ask that question, and to bring back valuable information for you. No 2 days are exactly alike. It changes every day. Today, for example, I was most of the day at my office, right? But other days, I'm just out in the farms. What do I do with the farms? It really varies day to day, right? Sometimes I get there and it's because they had a drop in milk production, and so they've noticed that the feed is not going really, it's not performing great. So I may be trying to do some research about, well, what's happening with the feed. And now I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't put on the diets, but maybe it's just a matter that the nutritionist sent the diet to the feeder and there was a miscommunication, right? So there's some feed evaluations that I do to see if the diet that we actually have, that the nutritionist has for the cows, is a diet that it's actually being eaten by the cows so that they can have the highest quality and be healthy. So I may be out doing that. For example, this video right here, it's a little bit of a long video, but in here we were as a group and we were just, oh, okay. I'm trying to, okay, I guess we'll have to see most of the video. So we were trying to see how the feeder was actually delivering the food, because even though it seems like a simple job, a lot of things can go bad in this job, right? It can have a lot of waste. So we looked through all of those little details. Okay, so I could be doing that out in the pens. Another thing that I look at is not just the feed, it's actually the behavior of the cows. So are their living spaces like open? Are they not eating enough? We also have collars to track that activity. I may also be looking at the parlor. This is one of the rotary parlors that I regularly work with. Are the cows healthy and thriving? One of the things that just from looking at this picture you can see is all of the cows, except this on the back, are laying down. And that's a great indicator of welfare and of cows that are healthy. They're just laying down, chewing their cud exactly how we want them to be. What about the calves? I can go in there and I continuously work with another specialist that is just on farmstead planning. So we can look at the ventilation system, right? She's more of an expert in that topic, but it can be that. Now, we use data. We are research based. So when I come into these farms, it's not like, oh, well, I think you have this and this problem. It's more of, okay, let me gather information and then we'll look at it and we'll see if there's actually a problem, or then we'll do some more research, right? So example, in here, it's a graph of a dairy herd management system. So in this graph, I was trying to look at, well, how are the cows being actually bred, right? So lots of data, but data is not necessarily too scary. It can actually gives us a lot of tools, but our main goal is to go there and give actual information. It's not just getting to the farm and saying, I think you have this and this and that. No, it's actually showing numbers, putting numbers, and measuring what's going on. Another main purpose I have is education, of course. So think of it as being like as a teacher or a coach for farms. In here, we were talking at a workshop talking about bovine respiratory complex disease, right? In here, we were doing another reproduction course for farmers. I do a lot of on-farm trainings on different topics. It can be learning how to put like a medicine, how to adequately and correctly inject. We were in here looking at some lesions of the lung. I was doing some calving training with some workers as well. So all of these, our main goal will always be education, right? So all of these people that you see here are farmers. We're on farms, we're working, and we're trying to bring that actual information to farms so that they can really be better. So just like in life, a lot of things can go wrong in a farm. So we are here to support the farmers be more prepared with applicable information. And this way, we all can enjoy delicious ice cream, delicious milk. Okay, so agriculture needs you. There are there are lots of possibilities within agriculture. It's so much more than working in farms, and I'm gonna give you a lot of some examples. So farms are not like this anymore. I have been working in my region with some very, very high-tech farms. So let me show you a couple of examples. So in this farm, we were talking about feed. Remember how I had the video of that tractor? The person was dropping the feed into the mixer. So in this case, this is done by a robot. Isn't that amazing? Really? So there are a lot of farms that are already very high technology. So the feed will go into the mixer, and then this automatic mixer will then go and feed the cows. So that is amazing. This is another robot. Think of it as I think the name is like a Roomba. So that vacuum that we have in our houses that just goes around cleaning, it's the same, but for the pens, right? Isn't that amazing? Look at this pen, how really clean it is. So my message is, even though we had a lot of high-tech farms, we still need humans. Humans are a crucial part of that. Why? Because we need to look at the data that they have. We need to invent those machines. We need to do maintenance on the machines. There's a lot of human work that we still need to get done, right? Of course, we have the robots that are already milking cows. And that's another crucial part. We humans still need to maintain everything in order so the machine can do the job. So one of my final messages is, we just don't need more vets, because we do need more vets, large animal vets. We also need herd managers, and we just generally need more people interested in agriculture. But it's not just that. We need a lot of other professions that kind of have like this intersection with agriculture. So we need animal scientists. We need engineers for robotics, for the farm machinery, for crops, for buildings. A lot of buildings and barns, new barns that need to be perfectly fitted for a good dairy farm. We need food scientists, right? At the end of the day, we're talking about producing food for humans. We need technology specialists. We need a lot of environmental scientists, because there's an even bigger pressure now on us. And agriculture is not as bad as how people are telling the story, right? So we need to even put more into the environmental care. We need policymakers who advocate for agriculture. We need lawyers. We need financial analysis, brokers, risk analysis, lots of data analysis. So there are a lot of professions that can relate with agriculture, and we need all of that. So my question to you would be, what do you love to do at school or in your free time? And think about how it can be relatable, or how it can relate to agriculture. Just to show some last examples of these things that I've helped with, not necessarily that's my area of expertise. Look at all this crazy equipment, right? So this was a machine that was being used to measure gas emissions from the fields, right? We were talking about environmental scientists. So this is what they do. This is what we try to do. Do research that then we can be applicable into the farms. This was me doing another, helping in another research project. We were actually measuring different varieties, of corn. So, it's something completely different. You're on the field and it's agriculture, but at the same time it's research. Research doesn't need to be a very scary world. We have more technology. We're not just talking about technology with cows. We're also talking about technology with calves. This collar that tracks same activity. And then just to close this, I was talking about dairy, but what about other species, right? This is a water buffalo farm in Italy that makes cheese, right? So there are a lot of different things that you can do with agriculture, and at the end of the day, we're still providing healthy food for humans. Remember, then again, our ultimate goal is to provide nutritious and delicious food. So we also need food scientists. Okay, so with this, I'll close. My main message would be, try new things. Don't be afraid. Learn a new language that can give you an amazing opportunity and open a lot of doors, right? I just couldn't imagine where I would be. I definitely wouldn't be in this job if I didn't uh, learn English, right? That for me, that just blows my mind. Imagine all the other opportunities that you can access if you have these extra skills. Agriculture has lots of new opportunities that it's not just only being a large animal vet or a herd manager. Some works will require more education, but you don't have to do it right away, right? So I finished my vet school, I worked for a few years, and then I was sure that I needed more. So that's when I pursued my master's. And like a last message, I had no idea about extension, but it was until I came here and was able to have this job that is perfect for my interest. So then again, think about all of the other opportunities that are not just in your county or in your state, that it's just outside, right? And all over the world. So with that, I will take any questions, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
When did you have the opportunity to go see the water buffalo in Italy?
The water buffalo in Italy, there's a course that I did at my master's. So we took I think it was 9-day trip to Italy, but the trip was just focused on dairy. So we visited a lot of processing plants, the water buffalo farm. I think we even went to other grazing farms. So it was pretty cool to see dairy operations, different from Mexico, different from the States, so completely different. Yeah.
Did you get to taste test all the water buffalo products like ice cream and milk?
Yes, lots of cheese tasting. Amazing, delicious, really.
Anybody else?
I have one here in Zoom that I can read out loud.
Sure.
I was wondering what your college university applications were like and how did you decide where to go? So the applications were, as an international student, a lot of it was on language and doing essays, like why do you want to go there? What is your goal? I obviously had to prove my previous education. I decided to go to that program because yes, Cornell, it's a recognized university, but I honestly didn't care about like the name of the university. What I cared most about it was the program. And when I read what the program was about and what the courses, the subjects, the professors were, that's what caught my attention really. So that's another thing. Don't just go to a university because the name or something. Really look into a program that it catches your eye, right?
How did you get involved with the Mexican Army as a vet?
So I graduated vet school, and my grandfather was a veteran. So I don't know. I think I was always like close to these ceremonies, like army, like ceremonies to honor veterans, and I always wanted to try that. So I just did some research online, and I found that the Mexican Army has two dairy farms. One of them was like 1 hour away where I grew up, and I literally went in there and knocked on the door, and they were having applications. So they were receiving applications. So I had to do a medical exam and other type of tests that they do, and it was literally like that. Just I guess that's another opportunity that I was lucky that I had, but I was prepared, right? Because I had my degree, but it was just literally going and knocking on the door.
Okay. Our final speaker tonight, I think you'd all know pretty well, Melissa Bright. Thank you for hosting. Melissa's credentials include a Master of Science in Agribusiness Management and a Bachelor of Science in Dairy Science from Delaware Valley University. Her 4-H programming efforts are focused on 4-H agri-science with a concentration in dairy and livestock, public speaking, and career readiness. She co-oversees the Somerset County 4-H program in New Jersey, including club management and volunteer recruitment and development, and she provides leadership to state 4-H dairy and meat programs.
I know you will see me, but you'll hear me talking for another point on Zoom. I'm going to share my screen. So I know a lot of you are Somerset County or 120 4-Hers, but what do you actually think I do for work? Professionally is my question. There's no right or wrong answer. Maybe. If you're on Zoom, you might want to unmute. I'm not sure if I'll be 100% able to read the chat. Okay. Sam, please support different clubs and 4-H members. Okay, yes, let's do support different clubs and 4-H members. Let's narrow that down a little bit. Yeah. You work with under Rutgers and like you help like advocate for different opportunities. Yes, I do work under Rutgers and do advocate for different opportunities. Julie, you're like kind of a professor. I'm like kind of a professor. Ethan, you have a time to raise. No. Okay, livestock. So yeah.
For those on Zoom, for those who are watching the recording after this, my name is Melissa Bright. I'm one of the Somerset County 4-H agents. So in Somerset County, we are rather large. So we have 2 4-H agents in order to oversee the entire program. We have 650 youth members, over 250 volunteers, and there's about 75 clubs. That kind of fluctuates from every now and then. So that's why there is 2 of us, and we have about 4 program coordinators and 2 admins that support the entire program. So just an overview of what my job is and what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to share an introduction about myself, give some background of who I am and like what I like to do and my passions, and then explain what cooperative extension is. So as stated, I do work under Rutgers, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. I'll explain what is 4-H. I know everyone understands what 4-H is, but there actually is like a true definition of what the program is. I'll explain what a 4-H agent is and what a typical day looks like, although it is always different. And I do have some advice for us. So I'm originally from Somerset County. I grew up in Hillsborough, New Jersey. I just recently moved to Hunterdon County, and I recently purchased a 20-acre farm last July. And these are my animals. I was supposed to have sheep before I made the PowerPoint, but I'm buying them sometime this week. These are all my animals. That's Max. He's the dog. He's an Anatolian Shepherd. He is a guard dog. He is there to protect the animals and my home. He doesn't like when anybody comes over to the house. Then these are my goats and my alpacas. This is Gertie in the middle. She does have horns. She's very old and she doesn't listen actually to anything. And then the bottom corner is Xena. She's the alpaca. And then in the middle is 2 goats. They also don't listen. And then there's Fools. He's a Welder. He's a lighter goat. He also doesn't listen. So it's a great time. I also just recently started a garden. I love gardening. And I actually have a little bit of sun production. I produced 5 green beans the other day. So some background, as I mentioned, I'm from Hillsborough, New Jersey. So I went to Hillsborough High School. I graduated about 10 years ago. And I've always been in Somerset County 4-H. I grew up in the program. I was a 13-year alumni. I came back to work as a program coordinator and then applied for the agent position. So I've always, in some realm, been involved in Somerset County 4-H. I've also attended Raritan Valley Community College, where I got my associates in biology. I then transferred to Delaware Valley University, which is excellent community school. And I got my bachelor's in dairy science, and I stayed for my master's in agriculture business and management. And then I applied to work at Rutgers University in cooperative extension. So in order to have an agent position in New Jersey, every single state is different. In New Jersey, in order to be 4-H agent, or like Kate is an agriculture agent, or there is FCHS educators, you have to have at least a master's degree. So keep that in mind if you're interested in being a part of cooperative extension. So does anybody know what cooperative extension is? Anybody want to take it? Julie, please.
It's a way for the land grant universities to interact with, I guess, the public.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we are a free and or low cost charge in the public to really be there to advocate for, and my capacity, it's youth. Agriculture and natural resources is agriculture and working with local farmers, and our family community health science department is for like healthy living in the community. So Julie is right. We are the outreach arm of Rutgers University to take the research that's happening at Rutgers and turning that and communicating that into the public, and no matter what aspect you work in. So land grant universities, there's one per state. I do believe some states have two, but Rutgers Cooperative Extension is our land grant university, which means that we get money from the government and the USDA and NIFA to basically kind of be instated. So as I mentioned, Rutgers Cooperative Extension is in all 50 states. Does anybody else know another land grant university? Yes, Eliza.
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech, Ethan.
Everyone, their university.
Yes. Yes, Julie.
Iowa State.
What is that?
Iowa State.
Iowa State, okay. Yeah, so yes, Kate. Cornell, yes. So every state has one, and I do believe I think some have two, so don't quote me on that. But there is cooperative extension, as our previous guest speaker Kate said, in every single state. Sometimes it is one agent that is for youth development, agriculture, and FCHS. Sometimes there is two, like we have here in Somerset County, but like every single state has some sort of cooperative extension in every single county across the nation. So in 1862, land grant universities were kind of established, and that is called the Morrill Act. And there was an economic and like need for like technical education. So we all know that we have math and science and English and gym and history. I'm talking more technical education that is like agriculture and like more hands-on education that they typically don't teach in a standard school's curriculum. There was a really economic drive in order to have cooperative extension. So in 1886, which I know we all remember that year, right? Thank you for laughing. Agriculture experiment stations were developed. So there is some in every state, but ours is obviously Rutgers Cooperative Extension and Rutgers experiment stations throughout the nation. The closest one, I believe, to us is in Pittstown, which is Hunterdon County. I'm sure we've all heard of it, and I know some of us have been there. And then in 1914, Cooperative Extension is the Smith-Lieber Act, and that was when Cooperative Extension was really developed. So Cooperative Extension is the outreach arm into the community per land grant university. Ours is Rutgers University. Okay. And as Julie mentioned, we are basically taking all of the research conducted at Rutgers and informing and improving lives of those in our community. Okay. So what does that really mean? So 4-H is a national youth development program that reaches 6 million youth annually. The Beyond Ready campaign or initiative was just announced last year, and we're hoping to increase that to 10 million by 2030. That is a national number. Please do not think that is for New Jersey or Somerset County. That is a national number that we are going to strive to reach. We are preparing youth to be beyond ready for life. So obviously you're all in 4-H, you have that passion for beef, cattle, dairy science, whatever it is, but it's more than just that. You're joining based off of if you like dogs or not, but you're learning those leadership skills, civic engagement skills while you're being involved in 4-H, public speaking skills, and hopefully you will all be caring and contributing citizens into our community, no matter what aspect we decide to partake in. And as I mentioned, Somerset County is a very large 4-H program. A 4-H agent, again, just for Rutgers, is a faculty member at Rutgers University under the Science, Engineering, and Biological Sciences Department. So as I mentioned, a master's is required in New Jersey to be an agent. Other universities do not require a master's, or the title of agent might be slightly different. But I am basically the liaison from Rutgers University, and I'm bringing their research and youth development practices to grades that are kindergarten all the way through your first year out of high school. And we say out of high school because not everybody goes to college, not everybody goes to like a technical trade, so it's just your first year out of high school. And what do I do? So typically 4-H agents work in program areas, as mine is more specific to agriculture and animal science because those are my passions, but not every single county has 2 agents. So my co-agent, Lisa Rothenberger, works with more like STEM and sometimes our arts and science clubs. Like we kind of divide things in half, and we have program coordinators that also take on some of that workload. So my realm is really just agriculture, animal science, and I advocate for and teach career readiness, those career readiness skills, public speaking, and sometimes some good old life skills that are not so ag and animal science. There is 3 program areas that I briefly talked about as a 4-H agent. So under the agriculture, area, can somebody tell me what is a program that I oversee? Sam.
Ag ambassador.
Yeah, the Ag Ambassadors is a new program in Somerset County, and agriculture ambassadors advocate for agriculture and what aspect they have a passion for in the community. So some is beef science, some is dairy science, some is horticulture, some is like camelid farming. Whatever their passions are, they take that and they communicate and advocate for that in the community. Somebody else want to tell me another program that falls under agriculture? So agriculture career exploration. So I try to host them. It used to be every other month, but now it's like 4 times a year. Career exploration in agriculture, and there's different sectors as we've seen over the past few months, and as we've seen tonight. There's different avenues in agriculture that is not just being a farmer and being a veterinarian. And I also co-implement an Earth Day program with one of the program coordinators, Christine, who I believe is also on Zoom tonight. Alrighty, under animal science, would somebody like to tell me what programs under animal science? Angie. Ag Venture. Would anybody like to explain what Ag Venture is? Sawyer, please.
It's like a day camp for kids. You teach them about agriculture.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a farm camp for kids, and we teach them about the importance of agriculture sustainability. And sometimes that includes farm tours, really being hands-on at the farm. And sometimes that is in-person workshops at the 4-H center, teaching them maybe not on the farm agriculture, but sometimes it is animal science, horticulture programming in person. And the state dairy and beef program. So there is a state dairy advisory council. And they conduct a lot of state dairy programs, which I know some of you have been to. And there now is a new beef state committee that is conducting a lot of beef programs. So I provide leadership and that liaison to Rutgers University in those program areas as well. I also co-coordinate the Rutgers Junior Animal Science Symposium, which I'm pretty sure we've all been to. So we bring, this year we had 400 registrations, which is really, really, really big. We never had that before. We bring everybody to Rutgers University. And it is just that, an animal science symposium where everybody learns about the different animals on the Rutgers farm. Research is being conducted, and that is really for everybody from like kindergarten all the way up to adults. And under career exploration, I do implement the public speaking program here at Somerset County. And I also implement a Building a Better You program, which is resume writing, cover letter writing, and kind of, okay, we know what career we want to be in, but how do we kind of express that, and maybe some interview skills with that as well. So a typical day is kind of hard to put together because it is all over the place. Like today I was teaching at Hillsborough High School to the senior classes about public speaking and how to really advocate for yourself moving forward, because when you're in college, the professor's not going to call mom or dad when you're failing. Like, you need to figure it out. And quite frankly, sometimes they won't even tell you you're failing. You're supposed to be on top of your grades and gain more independence. So a typical day, sometimes I am teaching, so smaller classes, or sometimes it's bigger classes, but it's me physically teaching. So like earlier, like most career exploration series, I ask guest speakers to come and talk to you. Tonight I am teaching, but I'm also implementing a program. Does that make sense? So I'm teaching, sometimes I say agriculture because it's all different aspects. Animal science, typically it is dairy science because that's kind of my passion, and I mean, that's my bachelor's degree. So typically it is dairy science. And then I teach public speaking workshops. Again, like it was at Hillsborough High School today. Sometimes I've done North Plainfield, and we've done environmental science. And then I also teach career readiness workshops and sessions. And some of these I've taught at like Ignite and National 4-H Congress, which applications are out for, so you should apply to go. But then also program implementation, which I just talked about. Having those larger programs where other people come in and you're working with volunteers to coordinate those events. And then there's office work, right? We're in the side of the 4-H office right now, but we also have the 4-H center, and it's communicating with staff that work here. It's going to different various meetings with volunteers. Sometimes it's with youth members, sometimes it's with commissioners or people that work at the county. And it is also evaluating the program. So there, when I hand you the evaluation, take that seriously, because if you don't like something, now is the time to speak up for it. So you can kind of drive where the program goes. And then it's taking all the evaluations and putting them all together and forming them into a nice little packet and reporting them to Rutgers, to the commissioners, to our stakeholders, to wherever they have to go. And then sometimes it's even publishing those results and evaluations that have actually had a longevity within the program. And sometimes moving up the ladder, the programs that are conducted as 4-H agent do have the potential to get nationally recognized with awards. And then of course it's volunteering and youth member like oversight and working with them as well and recruiting them. Great. So some advice that I would really like you guys to take away today is that no matter if you take up a formal education like I have done in order to get this position, or if you take up a technical trade like welding or something in a union or anything like that, or if you just want to work for the rest of your life and it has nothing to do with that, it does not matter because you define your success. Just because you want to go to community college and then go to a 4-year school, that's fine too. That is exactly what I did. Do not feel like pressure to pick anything. If you don't know where you want to go, probably starting off at a community college is better for you. If you know exactly what you want to do, that's fine, but that can change and it's okay to change your mind. Follow your gut and your passions. Everybody has that little voice in their head that follow what you want to do. Don't follow what society wants you to do, or don't follow what's popular. Really advocate for yourself and decide what you want to do. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you change your mind, just pick and kind of have your path follow itself. And don't compare yourself to others. I was the only female graduate from Delaware Valley University in 2020 with a degree in dairy science. So do not compare yourself to others. I did not grow up on a farm. So when I got to Del Val, it was a little bit of a rude awakening because everybody there grew up on a dairy farm. So do not compare yourself ever. And it's okay to ask for help. I know sometimes it's awkward to speak up in a group setting, but like it's okay to go on the side and ask whoever you need to ask for help. And always speak up. As I mentioned, like you literally are your own advocate moving forward. So you really need to learn how to professionally advocate for yourself. And it's okay to advocate for yourself. Okay. So in summary, we discussed my background information, a little bit of introduction to Somerset County 4-H. What is Rutgers Cooperative Extension, actually? Somebody please tell me. Cool, so Rutgers Cooperative Extension is the outreach arm of Rutgers University, taking the research they're conducting into the community, and this community is Somerset County. And we reviewed 4-H agents as a career. Any question? Yes.
What inspired you to get sheep?
What inspired me to get sheep is I have a farmland assessment coming up in August. Any other questions? Alan.
What inspired you to get an alpaca?
So great question. What inspired me to get an alpaca is I didn't. I purchased the land and it was there.
So it's like the other animal?
It was. Yes. Any other question?
Are you gonna get more alpacas?
Am I going to get more alpacas? That is a good question. I've considered it, but I'm not 100% sure if I'm ready to add another like fiber animal I have to shear. Yes, Kate.
Was it hard to like get your job?
Was it hard to get my job? Actually, thank you. That is really a good question. So it was a 6-month hiring process. Yes. So I applied around Thanksgiving of 2022, I think. And I got a call probably early January, and they conducted like a Zoom interview, and it was like recorded questions you had to answer. And then I believe it was early February, I was called for an in-person interview, and then I had to give like a 30-minute presentation. And then I think I got the call in mid-April to start May 1st, 2023. So yes, it was a tedious process, but obviously like well worth it. But typically like faculty positions do take a while. This has to get like approved by certain higher ups. Yes, Will.
When are you getting rid of your goats?
I'm not getting rid of my goats. Oh, there's a question. Okay. So the application was applying like through Rutgers University, and then there is a search committee made up of other 4-H agents and other staff within the 4-H department in New Jersey, and some are volunteers. And then they kind of go through the pool of applicants and they make a recommendation to the dean. And then I interviewed with the dean and the director of cooperative extension, and then the dean does have the final decision on who is being hired. So what was the process of choosing my school? I know I wanted to stay close to home. I unfortunately knew that Rutgers did no longer have a dairy program. So I knew that I wanted to have something that had a dairy program, but I wanted to stay close to home. So I did commute to Del Valle. It was 40 minutes every single day. And they obviously had a dairy program. So that was kind of an easy pick for me. And they did take a whole bunch of credits from RVCC when I transferred. And it actually only took me 2 years to complete half of the degree because I already had 2 years at RVCC. I'm getting 2 sheep, like Noah's Ark, 2 sheep and one cows. I do plan on getting cows. I just need to fix my fence a little bit more and make it a lecture. Alrighty, with that,
Wait, has a question?
that is the end.